passing through the depths of outer space.
By your command.
God damn you all to hell!
Indeed.
It's the Solo Sci-Fi Podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Solo One Sci-Fi Podcast. I'm Michael Ball in sunny Portsmouth, UK. And with me, once again, from far afield, from New Jersey in the US of A, it is Mr. Tom Julian. Hello, Tom.
Hey.
Hello, Tom. And from London, from a lovely place with red buses and crime and everything else, it's Martin Fowler. Hello, Martin.
Thank you very much.
How are you guys doing? You right?
Yeah,
Splendid.
You're splendid. How about you, Martin?
Yeah, now I've been intrigued about Boris Johnson's flat.
Oh, there's some. I don't know if you heard about this, Tom, but there's some weird thing about what happened with that. Very quickly.
Well, it's been there's a massive political saga going on over there. It could be the end of our Prime Minister, the way it's looking. Apparently,
What? Yeah.
he decorated his flat and got somebody to pay for it in number 10 Downing Street, and it's blood everywhere. It's everywhere. And apparently, he turned around and said, "Let's pile up the bodies or something." You know, so I don't know. It's all been chaos here every minute of the day. It's
Wasn't it,
exciting, no blood.
It was Cummings who went on about that, wasn't it? And he was sort of
the evil Dark Lord that's going to get his revenge. You can make this shit up.
It's probably just a storm in a teacup, but even so, I think it's really ridiculous. You know, with all this sort of stuff.
It is, yeah. So how's it in America, Tom? It's been pretty quiet over there.
Well, I'm just going to focus on my life, but it's been warm and it's been nice out and not too hot, not too cold, and going outside, seeing human beings, and that's been lovely for me. So,
are you out of the lockdown now? Are your shops and bars open and all that now? Is that fully open?
More shops are fine. You're still wearing masks.
Yep. They are
restaurants and bars much less so. Like doing a lot of takeout, still takeaway, as you guys call it, takeaway pizza.
Yeah, takeaway. Yeah.
Outdoor dining. There's places where you can kind of go and sit outside.
That's where we're at. We're not allowed inside pubs, but we can sit outside.
I had my first pint outside in Wickham over the weekend, and it was I was actually outside. I had a pint of lager. It was very nice. The first time since February last year. So that's a positive thing. It was really nice. It was really good. So
that's great.
It's feeling a lot more normal.
I resigned myself for a bit. I was buying pint glasses and having them in here, and I'd pour my drink, and then I'd go to the other side of the island in the kitchen and talk like I was a bartender and ask me how my day was.
You could do a split screen, couldn't you? You could sort of record yourself and then just sort of like loop it together.
Only if I can try to talk like Martin, because Martin has the best bartender voice ever.
It's a northern accent. It's where I come from. We all speak like this up there.
Yeah. Martin, you could tell me to go F myself in the most creative way possible, and it would still be delightful.
He's told me to do that a few times.
Yeah, but my friend, she lives in Brooklyn. She said to me the other day, she said, "Martin, I don't really understand what you're saying, but I just listen."
Well, I don't have a clue either. No, but it's joking.
Fair enough.
I think it's funny. I love our different respective accents in the UK. I mean,
it's like the stereotype of being. Everybody thinks like across the world we're all wearing bowler hats and brollies and
yes. Well, hopefully we've taught Tom that. I think Tom would have been aware of that already. But we're not quite so. Oh, hello there, Mr. Tom. How are you today?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm expecting to be the crown here whenever I talk to you guys. But it's not. It's more the tour of the islands accents. It's lovely.
Exactly. Well, we better get cracking on. But it's always quite fun. So this week we're going to go into our focus of the week, which is it's a classic. Everyone's seen it practically in the sci-fi world to some degree. Star Trek: The Original Series. Let's hit the jingle. Here we go.
It's the Solar Sci-Fi Focus of the Week.
All right, so the reason we've done this week is that we are slowly going through all the respective Star Trek shows. We've done almost all of them now. of the actual live action shows. The only one we haven't done is Star Trek: The Next Generation. Surprisingly, we have done Picard. So in a few weeks, I think we'll finish off that series, if that's okay with you both. You know, obviously this is a very easy show to talk about because it's so well known. So let me ask, first of all, Tom, how did you like the original series? How did you come across it?
I came across it, I think, you know, when I was in high school. I would come home and watch it. I would be out, you know, working. I used to work at an ice cream store, and I'd come home at night, and they'd play it like at 11:30 at night, and I'd watch it and kind of got into it. And one of the first ones I ever saw was Spocks Brain.
Oh,
and
that's
that was
not the
so
best
crazy.
One. That's not the best example.
You know, it's a great one. But I really started to learn the nature of like the dynamic between the trio.
Okay.
And how they sort of were.
That's it. Sorry, for a second. Sorry, Tom. For a second, you dropped out. Carry on what you're saying. Sorry.
Yeah, the triumvirate of the trio of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. You know how they all interacted together, and what made them special was something that kind of hit me pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll say from my perspective, it's one of the earliest shows I remember seeing. And I still remember going to see Star Trek: The Motion Picture in 1979. I was about 7, I think I was, and my nan fell asleep in it. So that was an example of it. But obviously, I wanted to see the motion picture after watching the original Star Trek series. It's just one of those shows that when you see it from a young age, it really, at least for me, it had a massive impact on my interest in space exploration and science in general. And I think really it was Star Trek and Doctor Who classic which really made me become a fan of science fiction, those two respective icons. How about you, Martin? Tell me about your story about Star Trek.
I think I was about 5. We used to get it on BBC, wasn't it, when it first
BBC
started?
2 at one point, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was BBC 1.
No, actually, you're right. I think it was on BBC 1 at some point. It was actually like
every year, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I forgot about that. And
I would have about 5 or 6. I think it was first time. Is it syndication they call it?
Syndication,
yeah.
Yeah, that's when it became big in America.
We got it a couple of years later over here, didn't we? So yeah. I watched it. It had a profound effect on my entire life when I watched it. I don't know, it just affected me.
Really?
And I couldn't get enough of it after that. And then, you know, when cable came in and satellite and video, it was like, I remember video, I was renting it out also. You know, the odd episode would pop up in video, like.
Yeah, sure.
I just keep renting it out. I don't know, I can't explain it. It's a big part of who I am, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that it had, for me at least, it quite had a profound influence on my life. And I don't know why, but it's one of those things, especially when you talk about it now in retrospect, how important it was and how it changed you so much in just your thought and all of that. You have a certain way of thinking when you watch Star Trek. It's very hard to explain what it's all about, and this is why, and I'm not going to go into this, but this is why a lot of people have issues with the current Star Treks of Picard and Discovery, because it's how I can't explain what Star Trek is, but it's just Star Trek. And I've always thought that the original series, Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise had it, but I just can't quite put into words what it is that makes Star Trek Star Trek, that makes it so unique.
I think what it was, it's like, I'm not getting all political at all, but they went about it in such a clever way that it, like, the problems in society.
It was very, very clever.
It was very, because you couldn't put it on a normal program because they wouldn't get away, censors wouldn't allow it, but they did it in a very clever science fiction. Yeah,
a very clever episode with regards to racism was the season 3 episode "Let This Be Your Last Battlefield," and it's a very, very clever story. Excellent idea of a race where you watch them and they see two. You think they're from the same race. One's black on one side, one's black on, but of course they're on opposite sides because they're half black and half white. And it's a very clever indication of racism that you think to yourself, well, why do they hate each other? They're the same race, but they're not. They're good, and it was just very, very sort of like hidden messages that clever people will pick up on.
It was like when they're in the dining hall. Do you know that room what they sit in, the briefing room?
Yeah.
And they're having a meal. That Frank Gorshin, who played Commissioner, is it Slit? I forgot, isn't it? Commissioner Summit.
Yeah,
After Lockhart, the other one.
Yeah.
Spock just knows racism in 5 minutes. He just wiped it out in about a second.
Yeah.
He said, "Well, why are you both so different?" And he were like, "Well, but you, what's the point? You're both the same."
Yeah, exactly.
It was beautiful. It still resonates powerfully today. And the ending,
Oh no! When they go back to the planet, it's all destroyed. And they're the last 2 survivors or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he's just running, and they've got all these burning buildings. It's
he's got all this imagery of all the destruction of its entire civilization being destroyed because of this terrible racism. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that was a crazy one.
How about you, Tom? What sort of stories did you like, Tom? Did you have any?
I mean, it was I think really good at. So I grew up with Star Wars and what seemed to be rather more sophisticated sort of special effects and things like that.
Sure.
And so what I thought was neat about Star Trek was that it was clearly done not with the world's biggest budget. So they were telling interesting stories, you know, and had to have things in there like that. You know, it wasn't spectacle. You know, I think that was what makes it interesting, is that it's allegory about you know, our lives and our struggles, but translated into guy with, you know, ridges on his forehead, or he's half black and half white.
Yeah.
And so no one needs to be, you know, triggered by concepts that are being thrown at them, because it's not about me or it's not about you. It's about, you know, Klingons and Romulans and Vulcans and things like that. So to me, it always felt like it was a great way to talk about, and I think all great science fiction does this. It talks about what we're going through, and translates it into a way that makes it accessible to others, and makes people think. It always made me think. I'd always watch a Star Trek episode, turn it off, and still be thinking about it like 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, the next day.
Exactly.
You know, it brought you something.
I think that's one of the only sort of genres where I've watched things, and going back to what we're going to talk about later on is the last episode of For All Mankind. The last scene, I know we're going to go into the news, but that scene, I actually got goosebumps watching it. It was that good, you know. And it's like when you get
last scene.
Yeah, the scene. The big fade out from the Earth to where it went to was just a really awesome, you know. And I only get that from science fiction. If I watch something and it's well written and it's got great characters, it's got great ideas, and I've never known. You know, the thing is, I'm in quite a minority. I mean, a lot of people just don't get science fiction, and that's fair enough. You know, we're all different, but I consider myself very lucky to, you know, have learned just what science fiction could give me, and obviously you two have as well in your own respective.
Well, I remember growing up, like when I said like rent the episodes out, my parents couldn't get their heads around it.
Yeah,
you know, because
a lot of people just don't get it.
I used to babysit for my 2 brothers. I've got 2 younger brothers, and they'd rent normal films out at me. I'd just get 3 or 4 episodes. That'd do me.
Yeah.
And well, they never criticised me for it. They just couldn't, like, it was something that were made to them. It was something made 30 years ago, you know. But I couldn't, because buying videotapes at that time was very expensive. So, and then BBC showed it. I know they showed it again, and I recorded every single one of them.
Absolutely.
You know,
and I mean,
showed them in order, but I think
with Star Trek, I mean, I bought it originally on VHS, then I bought it on DVD, now I bought it on Blu-ray, and now of course there's you know, but I can't help it. I mean, actually, I'll ask you two, what do you think about the remastered special effects of Star Trek? Did you think it was a negative thing? Were you indifferent? Did it change?
I'm indifferent to it, to be honest. I'm not a purist to the fact that, you know, that I want to see the old styrofoam planets they used to go around and things like that. But for me, it's like that was never the important thing about Star Trek.
It was more the stories and the ideas.
And like, you know, when George Lucas decided to put things into Star Wars that weren't there to begin with, I didn't really care all that much about that either. It was fine. It was cool. It was neat, but it didn't. It doesn't enhance it for me. It doesn't make it better.
Doesn't make a difference. Yeah. How about you, Martin?
Do you remember the episode where he fights Spock?
Or Amok Time.
On that, Amok Time, yeah, with that cool fighting music they used. Do you remember in the one when they remodified it? Do you remember when they beamed out of Vulcan and you saw Mount Solid? You saw
which you see in Star Trek 3.
10
You saw it in Star Trek 3. I thought that was awesome. I like that. I thought
that's what I did like about when they added these special effects, and also the one with the 3 Klingons ships that surrounded the Enterprise when
the Enterprise incident. The Enterprise incident.
Yeah.
One of them, they changed it. Yes,
Warbird,
they did.
Yeah.
That was very clever. They made it to a normal Romulan Warbird. Yeah. What about the Doomsday Machine special effects? That episode was pretty good, I thought.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like you said, I mean, it's not everyone's. It's just how you perceive. I think it was actually helped it. It was great seeing in HD as well, rather than my old fuzzy old VHS copy. What else am I going to say about it?
Hey,
go on, Tom.
Do you consider the films to be like under discussion, or you want to talk about the original series?
I think I'd like to focus on the films for each individual episodes. I mean, we could sort of go across it briefly. What did you think of the films, Tom?
They I like the original series films much better than the Next Generation films.
Really? Okay. That's interesting.
I think they had it together. They had a nice arc between 2, 3, and 4.
Yes,
that
they were very linked.
Didn't exist in the other ones, in the Next Generation films at all. It was like they were standalone, and not really that sort of concept of aging and finding your place in the universe and loss and all that kind of stuff, which really makes episode 2, 3, and 4 into a 6-hour arc, they all hold together. You can watch them at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Star Trek 1 is its own unique, it's its own film, and it's also because the uniforms changed to those sort of red jackets in that era of Star Trek, but of course the motion picture was like half and half between. I mean, I would love to get Vic, I can never pronounce his surname, the guy who runs Star Trek Continues, which was the link between the original series and the motion picture. I know that Martin's seen that series and he's a big fan. I'd love to get him on the show. I mean, do you think that because it's quite a big gap, it's about 13 years between the end of the original series and the motion picture. Do you think that it was almost too long for them to come back, or it was quite a good period?
They were going to come back before the film. With
phase 2. That's right. It didn't work out.
Because on the Blu-ray motion picture, there's I think there's like a 5-minute clip of what they built a warp core, and they had some people walking around in uniforms.
They were going to. I heard they were going to redesign the Enterprise. And they actually, one of the designs of the Phase 2 Enterprise was partly used in the creation of the Discovery ship, apparently. So if you see, there's some shots of a conceptual art of the Enterprise for Phase 2, and it's got that weird sort of triangular bottom, which is in the Discovery. So I thought that
was the original. That was the original design for the TV series one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And they were going to use it, but in the end they changed it because of the motion picture, because of Star Wars changed the whole dynamic of that environment. But of course, the motion picture is a lot more like 2001, which we just recently talked about, than say, Star Wars and I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? I mean, some people like the more of the scientific exploration of the motion picture, and people like the more action-based of the Wrath of Khan. But obviously, we're going into the films more than the original series.
Yeah.
The original
series.
Sorry
about that.
No, that's fine. I'm happy. I'd like to sort of talk generally about it. A lot of people think that the third season was the least good. Did you think it had dropped in?
Spocks Brain.
Well, that's what we just talked about.
You remember that one where Kurt, I think it's the final one, where Kurt gets his body, they transform his body into that
Turnabout Intruder.
Yeah, that's an insane episode. I mean, third season's up and down. It
did have a Tholian Web. It had the Tholian Web. That was a great episode.
Yeah,
that was one of my favourites.
I have a funny story about Spocks Brain. I had actually borrowed that somebody had the VHS tape in college, and I borrowed it. And this guy comes up to me later, the guy I borrowed it from, and he's like, I wrote a note that, and I put it up on my on my wall, and it said, "Tom has Spocks Brain," and he was like,
That's nice, isn't it?
I was like, I had it. I took the whole thing, but
I remember I felt bad that I still remember this. There was another fan of Star Trek at school, and at the time I was more embarrassed about being a Star Trek fan. I don't care so much now, but I remember sort of taunting him about the scene where Spock has got his brain partly plugged back in his skull, and he says something like, "Oh, Dr. McCoy, put this thing here." You know, he's trying to be rewired into his own body. And I always felt bad about that. But it was one of the worst scenes, I thought, in Star Trek. I mean, but it's like everything. Every show has some real great moments and some really awful moments. All the stuff.
But that one is so. I love it that it is so over the top. It's not like
but you can just go with it, you know.
Yeah, it's good for me. I appreciated its goofiness and silliness and how it was trying to hold together and take itself seriously. What I don't appreciate was the Voyager episode where like everybody like turned into lizards, and then there was like the Tom and what's her name, the captain. They had like baby lizards, and I was like, all right, I'm out of here.
Oh, that was just.
I like that episode. I like the episode because he goes to warp 10, but then the episode turns much more like into The Fly, where slowly like his body's changing. They obviously use The Fly as a reference to that episode.
Yeah,
and it is bad, but I kind of, it's one of my kind of guilty likes, even though it's a really stupid concept.
Yeah, for me, I love the concept of Spocks Brain as being a guilty like, but that one, I'm like, that should have stayed on, that should have stayed on the shelf.
Yeah, I know. It's funny how it goes wrong.
I like Bread and Circuses, where they go to that run type.
Oh, that's. Yeah. Yes. Isn't that the episode which features the very first ever interracial kiss?
No, isn't that the one where they go to that planet where they're full of?
Oh no, you're right. No, Bread and Circuses.
Telekinetics.
Right. Yes, sorry.
And they're all sat on their ass, and they're all picking on that little small guy.
Yeah, that's right.
And he makes Kirk and Spock. He makes Spock do that Russian dance thing, don't he?
Which one was Bread and
Near
Circuses?
his edge with feet.
Which one was?
It's the one where they go to say it's like if Rome had stayed in power.
Yeah,
that was like 1960s Rome. Brilliant.
Yeah, I like that one as well.
Patterns of Force as well.
That's the German one. That's the German one. Yeah, that was a good one. They also had 2 time travel episodes, which I thought was quite interesting. Back into Assignment Earth. Assignment Earth was the one
which would have been a spin-off TV
it was
series.
Actually a pilot. It was a pilot for its own series, but it wasn't granted a series. It was a pilot, which I thought was good. And Terry Garr in that episode. And it's interesting. If you watch Terry Garr in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, there's a scene where she's in her son's bedroom, and there's a gold Enterprise in the bedroom. And of course, you think of Terry Garr.
Is that her?
Yeah, it's Terry Garr in that film.
I didn't know that was her.
And of course, she's in. And apparently, I think I heard that she really didn't like the fact that she was associated with Star Trek. You know how some actors really, like the one that played Robin Leffler. I can't remember her name. She played an ensign on The Next Generation who had a thing for Wesley. She's quite a well-known. I can't think of her name, but apparently she didn't want to be associated with Star Trek either. What's
Ashley
her name?
Judd?
Ashley Judd, yeah, that's it. Apparently she kind of, some actors really don't like the fact that they're associated with it, but apparently Terry Garr really didn't like the fact that she was on the series.
I don't know. She wasn't that. I never thought of her as being typecast in the Star Trek.
No, I think exactly. It's not as like she was like a whole season or something.
Yeah.
So, any other pros and cons? Any other favourite episodes?
Well, JJ, you were saying about actors wanting to not associate. Didn't Leonard Nimoy write a book?
I am not Spock. Yeah, he did.
Get away with it, and then when I met him 20 years later, he wrote a book. I am Spock.
I know. But the thing is, I mean, he was like Brent Spiner as Data. In the end, it was their defining characters in media as actors. That was it. They were those characters in many ways. I think Brent Spiner. He's been a bit better about it, but obviously Leonard Nimoy after Star Trek.
I think, like, if you're an actor, all right, it must be hard when you get stereotyped, but I mean, don't forget, these people have made a lot of money,
Yeah.
you know, at conventions and appearances, and then
Yeah.
then say the TV series or a movie, they're in that. I mean, you know, I'm not knocking it on it, I'm not, but you know, if it's like if you say you were like in Doctor Who or something, and you were defined in that moment, you're going to be work for the rest of your life. You might be playing that character, but you're going to make a bloody fortune out of it.
Yeah.
You are, but then you have
ride with it.
You have the sort of the Galaxy Quest conundrum where some people
Yeah,
That's what's so clever about that film. It was put in
Yeah.
from the perspective of people fed up with their being recognized everywhere as an alien in a
Right.
science fiction show.
Yeah, and some of them loved it, and some of them were able to make it into something that worked for them. You know, other ones weren't.
Some of them really liked it. Some of them it changed their lives. I mean, I think like Garrett Wang, who played Kim on Voyager, it changed his life. He loved it. He really embraced it, from what I can see.
Well, Patrick Stewart were in denial, wasn't he?
Yes,
when
he
did it?
was.
And now he milks it now. Doesn't he? He's
Well, I
all
think-
over it now.
I can only assume that, I mean, of course, after Nemesis failed, he said he would never want to be associated with Star Trek again. But then I think I can only assume he was offered quite a lot of dosh to come back as Picard, and same with Brent Spiner. I think a lot of the money in that series actually went for their salary, I think. But it's fair enough. I mean, you know. Yeah, just finish things up. I mean, it's a classic, literally. You know, we've all been so influenced over what we saw.
I think it goes beyond classic, Mike. To be honest, I think it defined a genre.
Yeah.
It invented itself. So Star Trek in itself is a genre.
Absolutely. The same
Like
as Star
space-
Star Wars is more like a science fiction fantasy, but it really had that defining moments. But
Right.
Star Trek had more of a proper science fiction in American culture.
Yeah.
I think Doctor Who was another big one over here as well. But they're the two
I think
biggies.
it's amazing that, like, in America at that time, and we were like over there. We got it I think we got it about. I think it went out. It finished in '69 in America.
Yeah, 69. Yeah.
And I don't think we got it till '71. So because it got into they put it into syndicate. They have to have so many episodes for
100. I think it's well, actually, because from what I understand, syndication is really successful if they make 100 episodes.
Yeah.
And that only made 79. But it's still
the first
it's still
season. The first season is nearly 30 episodes.
Yeah, it's about
you know.
20
Yeah.
episodes. It's really incredible amount there. And these are big,
Yes.
and each episode's like 50 minutes long. You know,
Yeah.
so it's you know, it's quite surprising.
But what I'm saying is, like, in America, it went into Europe and it went like all over the world. I mean, it created this like connection with people. And we all got something out of it. I mean, I saw footage on YouTube of the first ever Star Trek convention. I think it was.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah,
Back
it's
in
very
70s.
yes.
And the actors have been out of work because William Shatner said he was skint for years after that. You know, and they turned up, but they thought it was just like a few people in a hotel. The police had to come, and there were like 15,000 people trying to get in.
They were completely
Just
shocked.
to see him, and they couldn't believe what they were. And this were a few years after. So it's had a profound effect on the three of us. We're all from different parts, and all of us we're all connected.
It's funny you mention that, because I have met so many people that Star Trek means a lot to them, like beyond what anything like Star Wars or Marvel or anything else. It's helped a lot of people to get through parts of their lives that are really hard, because you kind of you
Absolutely.
identify with the
Definitely,
characters, and you identify with the world and the universe. You know, and I know some folks that have gone through some depression and loss, and they have fallen back on Star Trek as it being an incredible grounding part of their lives, which really speaks to the nature of what it's about, because Star Trek in its essence is aspirational. It's about living better, doing better, being fair, not using your fists right away, using your mind and looking for our better nature. So, I mean, it's in that sense, I can understand why, years later, hundreds and thousands of people would show up to meet William Shatner and things like that. It's sort of wonderful in that way. And sometimes, people can derive the fandom and say, hey, it's it's for nerds, or it's for this, or people are obsessed and they want to live in another world. But ultimately, I think it's a nice place to want to be.
I think it's more accepted now than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago. I think that kind of culture is more understood.
It's funny. It is more understood. There's more, like, nerd chic is more of a thing. But Star Trek, for me, has sort of aligned more towards the culture and the entertainment that's happening today. Like Voyager and Picard were more like, shows that are out today than truly defining moments, or like defining cultural things. So when you think about Discovery, it's not necessarily standalone. There's other things that are like it. Right. And so I think almost like the culture is aligned more towards Star Trek, but it meant a lot to me. It helped me decide I wanted to write semi-professionally. It brought out the idea that story and twists and big concepts were the most important thing, right? And getting people to believe in and want to be with your characters was super important too. So I mean, it's absolutely influenced me in a huge way. Even though the stuff I write is very un-Star Trek-y.
But it was like the trigger. It's put you in that direction to make your own interpretation in the science fiction world. That's how it gave you that idea that this is something like this. This is sort of such a unique environment.
I think it defined people's beliefs in something better as well, and how to be a better person. I'm not getting over dramatic, but I mean, I follow a lot of the beliefs on it, and I try to live my lifestyle. I'm not perfect, but I try to go with it. Represents the decency in people.
Yeah.
I agree with what Tom just said. But instead of using your fist, you look at the situation and you try
from a different perspective.
Negotiate.
Right.
Yeah, and I think you're so right with that. I really agree with that.
Thank you, Martin. I would say if you are going to use your fists, you clamp them together and you smash a lizard guy. that's what you use.
And don't forget, you've got to do lots of shoulder rolls as well. Lots of shoulder rolls.
Just before we finish on, I have to go to the Gorn episode. The fight scene with the Gorn episode. Oh, come on, and he builds a cannon.
Yeah, sulfur and diamonds, and then I don't care. It's fun. I loved it, and it's the first time we saw the Vasquez rocks, which you see all the time in various Star Trek series. So thank you guys. I think that was a really good topic, and I'm surprised I've done it before.
Very special topic. I'm glad you brought it up. I'm so glad we got to talk about it.
Thank you. And we are going to still do another one for the next generation, plus the movies at some point as well. So plenty more to come. So I think at this point, let's go into the Solar One Sci-Fi News. Are you ready? Here we go.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
Working.
Solar Sci-Fi
Right, so news this week. I haven't seen a ton of news. I think the one main piece of news which we're going to be talking about is a certain series that Tom got me into. Thank you, Tom.
Oh boy.
I've always said to Tom how much I'm grateful about this bloody series because it's that good. And of course, that is For All Mankind, which finished last week. After that, they've done 2 seasons now, haven't they? So, all right, Tom, tell me what you thought about it.
So, should we set the table for All Mankind? It's a series set in during the height of the space race, where the Soviet Union has beaten the United States to the moon. Alternate history prevails. Nixon gets beaten by Ted Kennedy for president, and all kinds of different things happen to bring us forth through the 60s, 70s, and 80s as far as the space program is concerned. So it's focused on NASA and their interactions with the Russians, and kind of the way that all the astronauts live their lives differently and do various things. We've got a moon base. We've got Russians next door on the moon. We've got we're up to like Apollo 79. We've got all kinds of things going on. and it's a really cool series from Ron Moore, who gave us Battlestar Galactica,
yeah, exactly,
yep, and Deep Space Nine. So he brings a pedigree to this series, which is really important. It's on Apple TV. If you want to watch it, and it's got 2 seasons which have just ended. 1 and 2 are now available to stream, so you could have 24 hours of For All Mankind.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, and it's well worth it. Also, the Mike and Denise Okuda are involved with it, and they did the scientific background of the Star Trek series as well. Well, at least Next Gen to Enterprise. So it has got some Star Trek components in this series. And it's a fascinating story because what I like about it is that some real life events still happen, even though it's like an alternate timeline. And it's I don't know, it's a very good drama. It's got some very, very interesting characters in it. And as you watch it, you'll realise that it spans quite a long time. The first season was mainly based in the late 60s, early 70s. The second season jumped to the 80s. And we know that the third season will jump into the mid-90s. I'm fascinated as to what will be happening in season 3. Tom, what do you think about what's going to be happening? Like I said, Martin.
So to spare, I don't know how much to spare, Martin, but
no, go on. I'm going to watch it. I'll still watch it.
All right. So I
get the effects of it. So,
I loved season 2. There's one plot arc which I did not like.
Which one was that? Which one did you not like?
I didn't like the Ed's Wife's thing where she kind of was
had that one night stand with the
I didn't mind that she did it, but it was just who she did it with. It seemed really sort of borderline creepy.
It seemed and it seemed very sort of like spur of the moment. I mean, she was obviously had some issues with her husband doing this and that, but it didn't seem to make much of a reason why she suddenly took that route.
Yeah, I would have been happy if it was anybody else, except it seemed to be with a younger person that was almost like a sort of quasi family type. She was friends with her son, and it was a little much for me. But beyond that, and we can just get away from that, I loved all of season 2. I thought it was excellent. A lot of history that we experience in different ways. They still shoot down the Korean airliner.
Yeah, I thought that
still
was
do.
really cool. Yeah.
The Apollo Soyuz still happens, but it has different context. Ronald Reagan becomes president 4 years earlier. What's his name? The Pope is actually assassinated instead of injured.
John Lennon survives. John
Lennon survives.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
Does Kennedy survive then? Is Kennedy like a long-term president then?
I think it's
no.
Kennedy. That's still the same, isn't it? Because it was
Kennedy was killed. His brother actually does become president.
That's right.
Teddy Kennedy becomes president.
Wow.
Teddy,
and he's president.
They do some very great stuff with CGI where you have like Ronald Reagan talking to some of the characters and talking about news events, and they've obviously got a guy who's mimicked his voice very well, and it looks like he's taught, and it's obviously it's old recordings, but what they can do these days, it really does look like real history. I like those scenes. I thought they were very well done.
Those are cool, and it's done some really, I think, nice things as far as women's roles in the space program, because of the way that the Russians were they brought a woman to the moon, so we had to find a way to bring a woman to the moon, and that accelerated women in space by 15 years. And so in all roles too. So there's a great scene in season 2 where the head of NASA, the liaison from the president's office to NASA, the head of mission control, and somebody else, are all making critical decisions. There was all 4 women. Which I thought was really interesting, and back in the 80s. So they do some really great stuff there, and also do some neat stuff with the way that technology has advanced. They have cell phones or mobile phones in 1985. They have electric vehicles and things like that. So there's leaps in technology that are happening.
Which of course mirrors the Second World War, when of course a lot of technology had to jump ahead very, very fast because it was a world war.
Yeah.
I mean, we won't go too much more into this because of course we are going to have a full episode focusing on this when Martin has seen the entire series.
I'm gonna get into it this weekend. Honestly,
so you've got some.
Watchmen.
I was going to say you've got some small spoilers, Martin, but I think basically, although there's some things, it shouldn't affect your enjoyment of the series.
Is it very political? I love it. You know, have you got a lot of political intrigue in this?
Somewhat. There's some like Russian espionage type scenarios going on. There's a lot of interactions with the Russians this season.
I saw a clip where I think it's the Americans. They launch a ship from the ocean or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they launched their rockets launched from the ocean.
The Sea Dragon.
Yeah.
And then of course you've got the new updated space shuttle, which of course is called Pathfinder, I like it because it looks like a standard space shuttle, but it's got curved wings. It has got like it's just slightly different. I just like that. I like the idea of it turn up. It's really cool.
So what happens? The scene I've been watching clips. You know that airlock business with that Russian? Was he spying on them then? And did he kill? No, I think he was torturing that Russian money. What happened there then? So where did he put him in that airlock or something?
Yeah. Do you want us to spoil that? That's
what I was
season 1. I don't want to rack it for you, but
all right.
I love that actor. That the guy playing the Russian. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah. He was good.
Other stuff too. He's always very magnetic.
Right.
Let's say there was
the end of season 1.
There's sort of territorial issues in this, and of course, the US have got a sort of moon base. Well, not a base. Well, it is a moon base, but I always think of a moon base as Moon Base Alpha from Space 1999. It's not like that. It's like.
Well, it would. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, everybody's moving towards the moon now.
Yeah, it's happening now.
In America, you've got Elon Musk, and you've got Blue, the Amazon fella, the Blue, whatever it is, and
I know the guy.
The Chinese, the Indians.
It's very interesting.
About.
So I have theories about season 3. Michael, should we hold them, or
let's hold? Why don't we hold it for our?
I don't want to look. I feel awful now.
No.
Really let rip on this. I'm holding you back.
What we've done is we've obviously gone into it to a degree. We're going to go into it a lot. Once you've watched it all, we can really bounce off all three of us together.
Right.
So it's a sort of semi, sort of contemporary.
Next Wednesday, we'll dedicate the entire show to this.
Okay, so you've got to watch.
I'm going to watch it this week.
You guys to watch 20 episodes. There's 20 episodes in total at the moment.
So he's got about 14 hours of homework.
Yeah, you're way behind now, so just no pressure.
Well, if season 2 magically appears on the screen just from nowhere.
Yeah, because you were talking about now going into digital stuff. You were sort of showing interest in getting.
I was gonna just discuss that after you finished. This.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm actually uploading a video right now.
Well, let me just ask Tom before we. Is that all you want to say about the show for now, Tom?
No, I want to talk about it for another hour, but.
I suppose I did. I'll invite myself for that one. Yeah.
We can't. I mean, Martin has seen the previews of season 2, obviously.
But it's a thumbs up from me. It's a really good show, and you'll love it. I think you'll like it.
Wonderful stuff going on. I personally like some of the cooler military stuff, where just a neat thing where you've got like Marines on the moon hanging off the side of an Apollo lander. It's really cool.
I think also
have they got guns in that? Have they got like
machine guns? We're not going to say too much, but the guns are involved at some point. But I tell you one thing, which it does remind me a bit of just how well the characters are written in The Expanse, and this series also has some really solid characters. You'll love it, Martin. If I know you, I think you'll really like it.
I'm starting this.
Okay,
I'm starting
honestly.
Friday. I've got no plans this weekend. On Friday, I'm in.
Right. Okay. So let's moving on. You wanted to quickly say about digital stuff and what you were doing on that side, Martin.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you both your opinion. Actually, over last week I did a panel a couple of days ago with some Blu-ray collectors, and. There's rumours going about that Warner Brothers and even Disney and certain big companies they're not releasing physical media anymore. They're releasing new stuff, but like the back catalogues, even or it's some company like some company it's redistribute them, but trying to turn them into cult movies like 101 Films and they like reissue it, but they add extra bits to it.
Right.
But it's I'm getting rid of a load of them. I boxed hundreds of them. I didn't realise, and it's like. How do you both feel about it now? Do you think it's over? Do you think that's it? Do you think we're going to be streaming and hard drives now with everything on?
Let's go with Tom. What do you think, Tom?
So the idea of physical media going away, that had always been a niche thing. Like people that are real true fans are buying the physical media, as opposed to the folks that can just watch it on their DVR. So I think that it's something that is inherent to the experience and the aficionado, where you want that thing, you want the liner notes, you want the crisp, extra quality, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I think that would, and those are they're expensive too. Like it's Blu-rays are pricier.
Yeah.
And they bring more for the collector. So I think that those things are meant for people that don't care about digital work. They care about it, but they really want to have the thing.
But it's so much easier now. I've got some streaming platforms. Just press a button and it's there, isn't it?
Let me say my point. I think from my perspective that if I like it, whether it's music or whether it's a film, in the past I've always wanted to have what I call, quote, my copy. Whether it's a CD, whether it's an old vinyl, something which can't be taken away. Whereas, and it might be old-fashioned, but if I have a favourite film, I've got to have it where it's mine. Streaming is for me at least, is a good way of testing something out to see if I like it. And if I like it, then I want to have a copy which is my own. And so I think what will happen is, because obviously you can download digital copies of films, and you can keep a copy of it, it won't be taken away. And then of course, like what I've done, is I've got a 14 terabyte external hard drive. Yeah. If I buy a film, it's mine, and it's not the same, but it still can't be like on a streaming platform where it can be like re-edited or taken down. It's my copy, and nobody's going to grab that. So I don't know. I think that's the way I've always been with my favourite films and stuff. I've always wanted to have a copy of it, but in the future it'll be a copy as an MP4 file or an MKV file or an AVI. That's the difference. And that's the point where I'm at now, where I'm slowly trying to transfer away from Blu-ray. But I will always say that I do like going to the shop, seeing the film you're after, seeing the graphics, buying it, taking out the disc and putting it. That's always going to be something I've always liked. But I don't really do it so much now, unfortunately.
So
it's strange. It's very strange.
Apart from the CEX shops, they're like game. In America, you have GameStop, I think. We've got the equivalent, it's called CEX here, where you trade games and movies in. But mainstream like retailers, like we had HMV and that's all gone. There's one shop in central London that sells DVDs, like the latest titles.
So strange. It's so strange that it's gone. I used to go every lunchtime at work when I used to work in London, going to Woolworths. W.H. Smiths used to have them as well, and HMV, and of course they're all gone now. So it's just look online. It's not the same.
Thank you.
That is true.
I was curious about what you both thought about that.
I think it's just the way it's the state of change. And eventually I think like me, I'll always want to have a digital copy of all my favourite media. And then what I'll always do is I'll back it up. I get 2 hard drives, and so if one crashes, that's the risk. You get a hard drive of all your films, it crashes, you lose everything. It's like literally somebody coming in with your DVD Blu-ray collection and just chucking them in the skip and throwing them all away. It's the same thing, you lost it. So that's why if you go that route, then get a backup hard drive. So if ever it fails, you can just back it up, get another hard drive. You can do it, but just do it in a way which is sensible. And then the best thing is, of course, you don't have to get off the sofa to get the disc to change it. It's the ultimate in laziness. You can just literally
Yeah.
go through your file archive, which I've done, and just literally put in anything. Well, there's a bone island way of doing it.
Yeah, a question for Tom. You've got Apple TV. Do you need to have a Mac to use that?
I use it. I can watch it on my laptop.
Oh, right. So can you buy a Mac box to like stream Apple TV? You don't need to use the Mac then.
No, you don't need to use. You can have the little thing, or my laptop isn't an Apple, so you can watch it on your phone. You can watch it on the web, etc.
Right.
etc.
Cool.
Okay, then, James. No, thanks for that. I've done this big video this afternoon about it.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I'd love to see what you've
I'm
got.
just really curious because it's just that I'm clearing out loads of
Yeah, well, I mean,
films I forgot about.
I'll have a bit more of a chat with, after we've done the recording, Martin, if you've got some more info. So. Now, I haven't got much in the way of sci-fi news at all. I don't know what you guys have seen. All I've heard is that LeVar Burton was asked whether he's going to appear in season 2 of Picard. Apparently not. He says he may well appear in season 3. So, like I said, that there's been, I don't know about you two guys, but there's been nothing out there. There's no news hardly at all.
LeVar Burton's going to host Jeopardy.
Oh yes, I heard about that. I heard about that.
I read that.
Yeah, I
That is
heard about that.
a triumph. I signed that and spread that around.
Never seen Jeopardy. Never seen that.
Oh,
I know of
wonderful
it.
show.
I know
It's
of
a
it.
wonderful show. Alex Trebek. Well, watch the Saturday Night Live Celebrity Jeopardy parodies. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
The only other, there's a black Captain America.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did you? Yeah. What did you think? Falcon and Winter Soldier. What did you think?
I don't know. I think it held together nicely. I liked it. It wasn't quite the. There were the bad guys and the good guys were very, very blurred together to some degree.
Right.
You know, and there was a interim Captain America who turned into a psychopath.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoyed it. I didn't have the same connection to it I did to WandaVision. I didn't wake up, you know, at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch it before work.
Right.
So that was but I enjoyed it.
Well, I'm going to check that out. Well, I'm still got to go through the Marvel films, but I will watch this series eventually as well. So once you've done that.
A lot of some YouTubers that reviewed it, they really panned the final episode. I thought the final episode was spectacular. I really did when he came out as Captain America. I really just thought it was very powerful. I really enjoyed Winter Soldier, Falcon, well, it's Captain America.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Cool.
I enjoyed it. Sometimes I don't know what people expect. You know,
you can never please everybody. There's always going to be someone that says it's too much this, or you know.
We've got the big one next month in June, Loki.
Ooh, that's going to be terrific.
Yeah, traveling to parallel universes.
Well, I know of Loki now because I'm far enough to know. So I like his character, so that might be quite. I'll definitely check that out. I'm going to check it all out eventually. Go on, Tom.
What I love about the Marvel series is that they're using the same actors from the TV show. Sometimes when you switch to the small screen, it's totally different actors and stuff, and it's always so lame whenever that happens.
And of course, what's showing is that the differential between TV and movies is slowly blurring. This is another state of change, like with the digital stuff that Martin was talking about. That now, a good example is the Star Wars stuff, where all the Star Wars actors from the relevant films, you know, a lot of them are coming back in these new spin-offs, and the same with the Marvel stuff. And of course, even 5 years ago, it would have been some more inferior production with different actors replacing the actors on the big screen, and that seems to be an interesting new change. How
well? I think it's because it's Disney properties.
Maybe, but I would have thought that other people might follow suit if they've got enough. Well, yeah, I mean, Disney's got the money. If you've got enough money, the actor will come back.
And I think they have really decided to treat Star Wars and Marvel as like they're the jewel in the crown, because they really are.
Absolutely.
You know? They're the jewel in the crown of Disney in a huge way. So if they keep the quality up for those, you know, that's a pipeline that'll keep chugging for the next 20 years if they do it right.
Well, I'm going to keep watching.
I do have some Marvel news that I forgot actually this week. There is something. I don't know if you saw the Netflix shows.
I didn't know.
Daredevil, Punisher. You know the And what's happened is Marvel is they're bringing the actors back, but they're going to reboot the series for the same actors. So the Netflix Marvelverse, that part of it is not canon now.
Right.
So the guy that played the Punisher, which is spectacular, he's coming back. The guy that played Daredevil, they're re-altering it all. They're going to, it's like a fresh start.
Wow.
Which is a bit weird, really. I don't know if you've seen the Netflix stuff. I do recommend Daredevil and Jessica Jones. David Tennant's in the first season as a super villain.
Right. Brilliant.
He's
Well,
a
look,
serial.
Sounds like it's worth checking out. Now, I think actually we're going to split now at this point. I've got a few things to do, so we're going to shoot off. But yeah, thanks, guys. Another great show. We enjoyed it.
Yes.
Brilliant show.
And next week, if possible, we'll try and do For All Mankind. If not, we'll work it out what we're doing. We'll catch you. Actually, we'll end with Star Trek and Across the Universe because it's the Star Trek episode. We'll catch you all next week on the Solo One Sci-Fi Podcast. Live long and prosper.
Bye, gentlemen.
Live long and prosper. Yep.
Trekking across the universe.
On the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk.
Star trekking across the universe.
Only going forward 'cause we can't find reverse.
Lieutenant, report.
There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, Jim.
Analysis. Restart the Spock.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it, Captain.
There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, Jim.
Star trekking across the universe.
On the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk.
Star trekking across the universe.
Only going forward, still can't find reverse.
Medical update. Dr. McCoy.
It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it, Captain.
There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, Jim.
Starship Captain James T. Kirk.
Ah, we come in peace, shoot to kill, shoot to kill, shoot to kill. We come in peace, shoot to kill, man.
It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead.
Well, it's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it, Captain.
There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow. Scrape them off, Jim.
Star trekking across the universe.
On the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk.
Star trekking across the universe.
Only going forward and things are getting worse.
Engine room. It's just that.
You cannot change the laws of physics. Laws of physics. Laws of physics. You cannot change the laws of physics. Laws of physics, Jim.
Ah, we come in peace, shoot to kill, shoot to kill, shoot to kill. We come in peace, shoot to kill. Scotty, beat me up.
It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead.
Well, it's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it, Captain.
There's